can do a little bit of hopefully I have enough battery to get into this. I'll have that 40%. Should do an hour.
Charge literally in case you were in the text. I wanted to make sure I got it.
And the thing is, like, my phone is not lasting as long as it should. And so, like, I have a full charge every morning, but I'm also using it so heavily that it's just, I don't have time to fully recharge. Yeah, but I also need a battery with me. I just haven't, I have a battery for a while. I don't know what the fuck it is, so we'll see. You know what? If it dies, it dies. I don't blame me enough for this shit.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm the Reverend Tamara Moreland, and I have the honor of being the senior pastor here at the First Congregational Church of Norwalk on the Green. Some of you may know we had a bit of turnover for a while, and I was here dating them for 3 years and was just installed as a permanent pastor. So I'm really excited tonight to be here with you and for all of the community folks to come together. This is really like being at home for this church. This church was always a beacon in the community and connected with the community. And some of you may know that congregational churches historically call themselves meeting houses because in New England, we were the places on the green in communities where people met, where governance happened, and things happened in the community. So I'm excited that we have opened our doors for the community tonight, and I think that it will be an informative evening and will be a blessing to all. So my prayer is that this is phenomenal, that we learn a lot, that we're here in respect for each other no matter what we believe or who we're voting for, and that we come away from this more informed to have votes in the next couple of weeks that will shape our community for the future. All right? Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. My name is Brad Craighead, and I'm with the Norwalk Green Association. I just want to thank Tamara for opening up the church in this amazing space. On Sunday, in fact, from 5 until 6:30. I just want to introduce Mark Burns, our moderator from Nancy on Norwalk, and to thank him and his team for all this hard work. And then, of course, the neighborhood associations. We have Anthony Pavia. Anthony, why don't you raise your hand? City Hall Neighborhood Association. Diane Cece from East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. And then Jason Milligan and Greer from Wall Street Neighborhood Association. So thank you for co-hosting this event. We hope to do it again the next, I guess, 2 years from now. And then, of course, thank you to all the candidates for agreeing to this and making this a successful evening. Just a little background, and I'm going to be brief. We have all been allocated 2 minutes, so I'm going to try and stick to it. Norwalk Green Association was founded in 2017-18. We define our geographic footprint as 5 to 10 minutes walking distance from the center of the green. That takes you over to basically the Norwalk River and Wall Street. It's almost like a Venn diagram of overlap, down to Buckingham and the Chamber of Commerce on East Avenue, which is where Anthony picks up with his neighborhood association, up to George Avenue on the hill in the east of this location, and then north up to Cannon Street. So in terms of our key stakeholders, what a surprise, one of our key stakeholders in the association is the First Congregational Church, also St. Paul's. We have Mill Hill Historic Park, owned by the Norwalk Historical Society, and then the other two organizations that we've worked with over the years are Human Services Council and then Congregation Bethel down on East Avenue. So in terms of events, our signature event has really become the Earth Day Festival on the Green, which is always held on the first Saturday after Earth Day. 2 years ago, we had upwards of 1,500 people. It It's a fabulous event. Our partners have become the City of Norwalk, the first taxing district, and then Norwalk Land Trust. Just quickly, in terms of kind of our mission statement and what's important to us as an association, it's really about building community, and this is exactly what we seek to achieve, is get turnout of people, let us know what's important to you, and we'll help convey those messages to the candidates and to other people in government and other interested parties. The buzzwords that are always coming up for us in terms of an association, a lot of it has to do with the location of where we are and the history of the area, walkability, pedestrian safety, mobility, connectivity. When I say connectivity, I really mean connecting to Wall Street. What can we do to connect this neighborhood and the other East Avenue neighborhoods to each other and to Wall Street in a safe way? And then I guess the last thing that I just wanted to mention quickly, I guess the last thing I wanted to mention quickly is O&G. Thank you. I have 30 seconds. Thank you, Claire. The last thing I want to mention is O&G, and I do hope the candidates address this directly. To me, this is the elephant in the room for this neighborhood and a lot of Norwalk. Thankfully, many of you helped participate a couple of years ago in persuading, so to speak, O&G to withdraw their application. They're going to come back. We want to be ready. We need a strategy, and I hope that's the questions addressed. Thanks for letting me kick this off. Anthony?
Hi, good evening. I'm used to talking to middle schoolers, so this is going to be interesting. My name is Anthony Pavia. I am one of the members of the City Hall Neighborhood Association. We were recently reformed about 3 years ago by several community members who live in this neighborhood. We have a board member here tonight, V. Cole. If you can raise your hand, I know you're here somewhere right there. We also have a couple board members who are watching via the live feed. We reformed a couple of years ago after the DOT started a project on the exit 16 off-ramp that negatively impacted the Hendricks Avenue area. And so based off of that advocacy and what we found to be missing connections between our neighborhood and the greater city at large, a group of us got together to try and advocate for our neighborhood. As Brad tried to point out for his association, we are roughly constructed of 95 at exit 16 over to about the Green, up to George Avenue, and then all the way down to the Norwalk River. I was given a History 11 lesson by Dan Cece that said we were actually at one point part of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, but they sort of spun off about a decade and a half ago. And so we're trying to, again, advocate for our part of Norwalk, which we think is the best part of Norwalk. So happy to be here. Thank you to the candidates for taking the time, as well as for all you coming down here tonight. And also, Reverend, thank you for letting me choose this beautiful building. Thank you.
Hi, girls.
Good evening. My name is Diane Cece, and I'm with the board of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. We represent East Norwalk south of I-95. Our organization has been active for over 22 years. Our mission statement is to foster and preserve the residential character, natural and historic resources, and the quality of life in the East Norwalk community. And most importantly, to encourage residents of East Norwalk to actively participate in achieving this purpose. We do have a board member here, Sarah Hunter, somewhere. I think Sarah's raising her hand, and a couple of other board members watching on Zoom as well. In my role as board president, my own hobbies include reading traffic studies, decoding zoning regulations, and politely asking for transparency. A lot. We're thrilled to co-host this forum with our fellow neighborhood associations. Together we represent the people who actually live where government policies land. Having hosted many of these forums, we're happy to see the crowd up and didn't just come out for snacks, which is usual. Seriously, though, I want to say tonight isn't just about candidates, it's about our community. Government usually works better when the people who live here don't just watch on the sidelines and get actively informed and involved. So thank you for being here. And I also want to say thank you to, of course, the Nancy on Norwalk staff and to the board, to Mark Burns, our moderator for the evening, to Reverend Moreland, and the volunteers for First Congregational Church, and to the candidates, of course, and especially to all of you, that even on a Sunday evening, we can still have civic engagement, be alive and well in Norwalk. And thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Casey Milligan with the Wall Street Neighborhood Association Board. Other board member here is Gary Fredericks. Our president, Mark Allen, available, and but we're all impressed and pleased that so many people could show up. Hopefully you've appreciated some of the changes in Wall Street, and there's lots to see and do down there. The WASNA, as we call ourselves, was formed, we're in our 9th year, I believe. We came together over some causes and would like transparency, and we are a political organization, meaning if the board had any disagreement whatsoever, and it didn't specifically have something to do with Wall Street, it was not a topic for the association. So that's allowed us to have extreme diversity of thought and interests and political parties, and just advocate for what's happening in Wall Street. So the mission we came up with 9 years ago, and we still stick with, is to create and sustain a clean, friendly, inviting neighborhood that attracts residents, businesses, and visitors. We believe that it takes a village to raise a neighborhood, and together we can create a vibrant future for the community we love. We are Wall Street CT, open for business. And one of the things we love, and the most, is people who live and work in the neighborhood, which several of our board members do, and increasingly more people in the neighborhood do. So we're happy about that, and we very much appreciate the tone and tenor that these 4 candidates have put forward in this election campaign. I hope it stays that way, and I really appreciate all of their availability and willingness to do events like this. So regardless of who wins, Wall Street people and Wall Street Neighborhood Association will be happy to work with you, and much success to you all.
I'm Mark Burns, president of the board of Nancy on Norwalk, and I appreciate that the organizations invited us to take part in this debate, or Q&A/forum/debate. Thanks to Reverend Moreland and the organization, thank you for hosting. Tonight's questions were submitted by residents of the neighborhoods that sponsor this event, as well as readers of Nancy on Norwalk. We got actually enough questions to fill at least 6 hours of Q&A, so buckle in. And what we tried to do in developing a list of questions to ask tonight was to really focus not so much on the topics that have been discussed in all of the previous / debates, forums, whatever, but to really focus on neighborhood-specific questions. So, given the 50 or 60 questions that came in, if you submitted a question and you don't hear it tonight, or you don't get an answer tonight, I apologize, but it's a lot. And we will be publishing the questions without personal identification on Nancy on Norwalk, and we'll share it with the candidates and also with the association. So you have an opportunity for what you've asked about and what your concerns are to be in front of the candidates as well. As I say, our time is limited and we have a lot of questions even so please hold your applause to the end and no cheering or booing or any other noises or demonstrations in between. There's a Zoom of the debate going on, so it will be available to watch later. The flow for tonight is that the candidates are not going to give opening statements, but they will have 2 minutes at the end each to give a closing statement. They've drawn numbers to determine the order of questioning, and the order is from my right to left: Eric, Barbara, John, and Vinny will
will be the first question. That's the first question in order, and we'll rotate as we go. At the end, the reverse order will be the order of the final statements, so you can do the numbers. The timers will have green, red, and yellow cards. A minute. Did I say how long they have? They'll have 2 minutes to answer each question, with the possibility of a 1-minute rebuttal if they choose. And the cards will be green for 1 minute left, yellow for 30 seconds, and red for okay, we're done. I think you still have coffee and whatnot after?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so after the closing statements, Reverend Moreland and the First Congregational Church have arranged for coffee and cookies, and you're invited to mingle with the candidates. It's coffee, it's just coffee, so mingle faster. So with that, let's get started. The first question actually is Reverend Tamara's question, based on a conversation we had. Please tell us what your vision for the future of Norwalk is. Paint a picture. What would it look like after the first term in your administration if you're elected?
You want me to jump right in?
Go ahead.
Cool. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Neighbor Association, for showing up. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tamara. What's your name? Tamara. Thank you for throwing the most juicy question at the right. Here we go. The vision for Norwalk I have is embracing the fact that we're actually getting younger and having more young folk engaged in civic engagement. I was not political prior to 2023, but a number of existential reasons kind of motivated me to be here today. That doesn't answer your question. Enough about me. 6 years from now, I'd like to see us engage in a board of selectmen expression of governance. I believe that if we're going to run the city like a business, that we're better off with a board of directors than, say, a singular sort of buck stops here, patriarchal boss type, which local government does, is actually the job I'm applying for with you all right now. So that'll be a 6-year process. That will require a charter revision, a special charter revision to actually review some of the things. In this past winter, I did work with the Secretary of State's Department, in which I covered 100 different municipalities in Connecticut. I learned the home rule, which allows each municipality to determine how they would like to govern themselves. We've been stuck with this mayor legislative thing for about 100 years. And like most experiments, I don't think it's actually functioning. So that's my 6-year plan. But I need to get in. So in the next 2 years, what I plan on doing is using my 30 seconds real quick to actually generate more mixed-income housing, facilitate local business, facilitate more commercial business. We need people to live and work and enjoy the amenities of our city. And that's going to take a couple of years. But get kids involved. That's crucial. That this future will be open for them. Thank you.
Tamara, thank you so much for hosting us, and to all the neighborhood associations for being here, and for everyone who's here and for submitting your questions. So I think the first thing that I would address, and my vision for Norwalk, is that we have better communication from the government to the people, from the people to the government. And I have to say, this is probably the most excited I've been for a forum, because we have folks here from the Norwalk Green Association, City Hall Association, East Norwalk Association, Wall Street Association, with many, many differing ideas, opinions, and thoughts about where Norwalk should go. And so I think it's really important that we listen to each other, respect each other. And so, one of the ways that I would make sure to do that, and I've talked about this many times, is, the Mayor's Night Out, going into the community, where bringing the whole staff and listening to you and engaging in what we want the city to look like. But in terms of that, we want to make sure that we're preserving our history as well as preparing for the future. And all of the young people who are so excited to be here. We want to make sure that we have arts and culture. We have parks and activities for young, old, rich, poor, and you know, everyone has a home and feels safe here in the city of Norwalk. So that's my vision for Norwalk. I know I have 30 seconds to go, but you know, I just want to go back to the transparency, accountability. I think that we just all need to listen and respect each other, and I'd like to see more of that.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. I know it's a Sunday night, folks would rather be home doing something else, but it's nice to see everyone out here. It's nice to see people who want to get involved, want to know more about their communities, and invest in the community. So I'm just going to get into, if elected mayor, what I plan to do, and that obviously reflects on what Norwalk's future will look like. I've said it before, all of us here want the best for Norwalk, and all of us have their version of what that best is. I personally feel, as someone that's been here, a lifetime resident for 50 years, that we're losing our sense of community. Somehow along the line, we've gone from a community to a transient city, and people's voices don't feel as heard as they did in the past. There's been a lot of development, a lot of change, and I know a lot of people aren't happy about it, me personally. If, like the mayor, obviously transparency is important, being accessible as a mayor, but the issues specifically that I plan to address are issues like blight, traffic, overdevelopment, struggling schools. You know, the core of the issues we have. I think we need to press a pause on the direction we want us going, because personally I don't think we're going in the right direction. There's, I want to say, an overwhelming feel of hopelessness with some folks, and you know, getting out there, talking to people, seeing rooms of people like you, and talking to you after, I'm hearing what people are feeling. They want change. They want that sense of community back. And I think, you know, before we lose it, something needs to happen. It needs to happen soon. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone, as well, for coming this evening. Thank you, Tom. My name is Vinny Chicatano. My vision for Norwalk is actually quite simple. I'm a firm believer in you look in the rearview mirror and see what we've done so great to get us to this point that's made this such a wonderful city, and take what has worked and move it forward in a progressive manner to grow. I'm running because I want to represent the families that have been here for generations, been here for so long, and have that sense of community that we keep talking about. That's so very important. But we need to progress and move forward and grow. We need to grow as a city. And my vision is to have a city where people can come to Norwalk, buy a home, put down roots, perhaps raise their family here, and stay here through their golden years comfortably. To have a start-to-finish home that people will stay. That's what has worked for Norwalk for generations in the past, that people have stayed here. But at this point now, we have so many seniors that are struggling, we have families that are moving away because they can no longer afford to stay here. People are struggling, quality of life has diminished. We need to improve upon that. So my vision in Norwalk is to have a community, a home where people put down roots, where they get involved in the community. And with that, we need a stellar school system. We need a top-notch school system. Measuring our school system's success against other overcrowded urban cities is not acceptable in my mind, and I don't consider that success. The direction of the city that goes with the direction of our school system. So we need to ensure that we have the best school system we can have in the state of Connecticut, or perhaps the country. We have the personnel to do so. And to have a community where people can stay, and put their roots, make an investment, and enjoy their lives all the way through to the end, through the golden years. And just have a wonderful quality of life here in Norwalk is more important than anything. And sitting in a traffic light for 5 turns in the lane definitely is detrimental to your quality of life.
Anybody need another minute? Okay, moving on. This question came from Norwalk Green neighborhood. Many small business owners say that city regulations and fees make it hard to operate here. Others say strong oversight protects residents and neighborhoods. What's one regulation or fee you would look to change or eliminate, and why? And is there any potential downside to that change that you would be willing to risk?
That's me. A single change. You know, I do know that we have an onerous process for small businesses who are trying to start up. And you know, in terms of like one specific regulation, I don't know that I would point to one specific one, but I do think we need to make the process easier. One of the ways we can do that, and I talk about technology all the time, is through technology. We are in the process of moving in that direction, but as you might imagine, that takes quite a long time to enter all of that data. So we're in the process. I think, you know, there have been a lot of ideas that have come to me. One thing that, you know, in terms of getting small businesses up and running, and I think this is something new, I don't think that we've talked about this, is putting the fire marshal into City Hall. So that, you know, when those inspections need to be done, they can be done quickly, right? I think that that's something I've heard a lot from small businesses, is they really struggle around getting those final inspections done. So digitizing our processes, possibly looking at you know, moving that position into City Hall and making the process go much easier to get small businesses up and running.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Many small business owners say that city regulations and fees make it hard to operate here. Others say that strong oversight protects residents and neighborhoods. What is one regulation or fee that you would look to change or eliminate, and why? And is there any potential downside to that change that you would be willing to risk?
I mean, as a contractor myself, I've dealt with all the neighboring towns, including Norwalk, and I find actually Norwalk does pretty well in comparison. To that point, I don't plan to be that kick the can down the road there. It was mentioned before, efficiency. I know currently, and I may touch on this later, Norwalk doesn't have an IT department. There are many which all departments have suffered from. So definitely by far, building our IT department, filling all those vacancies, and being able to streamline forms in the process, and just expediting that. I found over the years, when we were up and running at full capacity with the IT department, there were many different ways, from outside dining permits to, you know, building permits, records. It just were streamlined. But unfortunately, since we've lost, I think, pretty much all but one IT person at City Hall. So I think IT, believe it or not, plays a big role in how City Hall operates, and we haven't had one up and running IT department in several years at City Hall. So what I plan to do first is, first hire a personnel director, which Norwalk also hasn't had in several years, and then have that person go out and find and fill our big IT department. Thank you.
Well, as it pertains to small business, one regulation that I would change that I believe would really enhance the small business environment in this city and really encourage growth in our city is property taxes on equipment. You expand a business anywhere, you buy expensive pieces of equipment, they're charged, you're taxed the same bill rate as everything else. So you can lease a piece of equipment and you're still paying property tax on it that's required. So it stops someone from wanting to expand. It's just another layer of cost in trying to grow your business. So I believe that if we really want to encourage business growth in Norwalk on a small level, you know, the big guys they're going to absorb it, they don't care. But the small businesses that are buying a $100,000 piece of equipment and paying property taxes on it, it hurts. It hurts if you're paying this year in and year out until this is depreciated. So one way that I get out of it is I buy old new stuff because it's just more cost effective. So it stops your ability to grow freely. And if we really want to grow small business in Norwalk, we have to help small businesses and not hurt them and penalize them by buying the equipment that's necessary to expand their businesses. So that's one thing I would really want to change, the tax system for equipment that's being purchased for your business. Whether it be equipment, whether it be, you know, tables in your restaurant or an oven. You know, this really puts a strain on small business. And we can do better here in Norwalk. We can do more to help small businesses grow. That's just one way we can do it.
Mark, can you question, please?
Sure. Sorry. Many small business owners say city regulations and fees make it hard to operate here. Others favor, say strong oversight protects residents and neighborhoods. What is one regulation or fee you would look to change or eliminate, and why? Is there any potential downside to that change that you would be willing to risk?
Okay. In terms of permitting process, I do know that economic and community development, they are making moves to have it a online permitting process, which would actually streamline the functionality that exponentially so I'll definitely motivate to get that moving. Because we exist in a town where it's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission. I know, and I'm going to actually flip it to homeowners because I can't really speak on small business owners at this moment. But I know that for people to do, even basic renovations on their homes, they go through a lot of bells and whistles and hoops with City Hall to actually be properly permitted. And then we have another contingent that just will knock something down and put it up, and they're dealt with ultra leniency, if not even a viable fine. So it's really a combination of the two things there, Mark. We need oversight, but we also need flexibility not to be entirely draconian about the whole deal. And I'll bring up one specific example. I'm going to throw a bone to Brad over there in the ONG thing. Back when we were doing advocacy, I actually met Brad and some other people when we were doing advocacy against the ONG permit that we're trying to put more, I don't know, rock movement or dirt farm, whatever it is over there. During that time, it became obvious that they are providing parking for Piro, which is a different group. And at the time I was actually working for Nancy on Norwalk and looking into it, pretty sure Steve Kleppen on record said they were illegal. And for the past year and a half, I'm making a photo montage of those trucks still there as I grow my beard out and shave it, grow my beard out and shave it. So it's just one example of a specific property that probably shouldn't change, but that's a whole different permanent thing. Where really enforcement would actually be effective in minimizing sort of the leniency we have to certain commercial entities to do what they will. I'm not interested in pursuing it in that way. Thank you.
Any follow-up?
Yes, thank you. Just as a point of clarification, the city does indeed have an IT department. It is up and running. It's been up and running for quite some time. However, we do not have that chief that I think that we need, and it's because we have not been able to afford to fund it. Those are very high-level positions, and that's something that we need. And one of the ways I think we can do that is to work together with the Board of Education, perhaps, and combine our IT departments. It's something we've talked about a lot, explored, but I think it's something we need to move forward with. Also, another point of clarification is that we have recently hired an HR director. We had someone part-time for a long time. It was a disaster, there's no question about it, but we do have someone.
Anybody else? Great. From East Norwalk, if elected, do you plan to continue the Greenest City initiative? Starting with everyone. If so, what do you see as priorities? And if not, why not? And that would be you next, John.
Yeah, of course. My time in council, I happen to be the chair of the Areas of Energy and Environment Task Force. Spent a lot of years focusing on resident participated and involved events, solar program, smart being connected with it. Several went up to bid, found out solar providers able to offer reduced rates to all residents, and then out of every sale they made at that reduced rate, Norwalk received a portion of that we then sent low-income children to their town center for summer program. We were doing great things. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, I plan to fully support it and do anything I do to help it. Thank you.
Repeat the question, please.
If elected, do you plan to continue Mayor Rowan's Greenest City initiative? And Greenest City, yes.
Oh, certainly, yeah, of course. I support that fully. I consider myself a strong environmentalist. That's one of the best community, our parks, our green areas, and we need to expand our green areas. One of the things I would advocate for is if we have any new development or any new buildings that we expand the amount of green space necessary to sustain those pieces of property, for sure. But, I've said the same thing throughout this campaign. You can't claim to be a green city, and pour concrete up to the water line, as we're doing on Water Street right now. We need to keep our waterfront clean, clear, accessible for the public, and pollution-free. So it's the best of our ability. So, we are planting trees, which is wonderful, but on Lockwood Lane over there, we're going to cut down some very large trees. We may be cutting down a very large tree on Cemetery Street. So, you have to live with what your words are. If you say you want to be a green city, then you have to be a green city from one end to the other. You can't have it both ways. If we're going to be a green city, we need to stop building on our waterfront, our water line. We need to ensure that we keep these trees that are here that took 50 years to grow. We have to ensure that we continue having places for the water to run off and soak into the ground. You can't keep pouring hundreds of tons of concrete and claim to be a green city. I'm sorry, that's my view, that's my opinion. So we need to steer more towards having a green city, and not just words, but in deeds and in actions. That's what's going to really maintain this green city status. I think that's very important. That's one I want to make for green cities go. We are a green city, but I have to think that the air is cleaner in the middle of Vermont than it is in the middle of Manhattan. So everything revolves around the direction the city is going. And I believe that the more we become a green city as opposed to a community with green space, the more it's challenging it's going to be to maintain that green city, label. Thank you.
All right, the answer is yes, absolutely. You don't see any lawn signs for me because I'm actually engaging in my ecological, consciousness, because I don't want to put more plastic into the world. I was a bartender for a long time. I probably put 1 million pounds of plastic, so I am sincere. I want to see the greenest city, but I want it to be for real, not just some lip servicing. That's just I'm driving a Tesla, not because, we're lower about something. The reality is, you guys want to rectify the leak level, then everybody's going to rate. That will actually be what's greenest thing. I think the number one thing we need to do to actually become the greenest city in Connecticut is we need to find funding for our sustainability director, Jody Trevor. I know she has a 1-year contract. The city assumes that we can actually generate a functional, sustainable program in a year. It doesn't work that way. Things take time to grow. That's the main thing. We need more tree canopy within our inner city elements. The heat index is ridiculous. They're looking at June, and that will just kind of help not just the environment, but also the mental environment of people that inhabit that urban space. I'm from New York, Bronx. I lived in Manhattan, and really we require that green to kind of keep us all together. I was part of the whole oak tree meets Norwalk advocacy, and it was inspiring to see like 60 Eatons kind of step up and protect a singular tree. So yes, I will push the Green Deal forward. I believe like a large scale, we don't need to fill every square inch we have with housing. We definitely can use more public parks. Right now we have 108 Water Street is going through permits. It's going to be another 100 units. I feel that in a perfect world that would be much better than a wetland park. And while we still preserve the shore of the river for all involved, not just for like a few that can afford the rent. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I'm an environmentalist as long as I can remember. I was one of the first members when I was 19 years old of Greenpeace. It's really the fabric of who I am. So, continuing to move to be the most sustainable, resilient city that we can be. And some of the ways that we have been doing this, and I'm committed to continuing, is to make Norwalk a more walkable, bikeable city, so that we are relying less on on cars and more on public transportation. One of the things I talk about is possibly, advocating to re-electrify the Danbury line, the train line, and just getting people out of their cars and walking and biking. Increasing open space, increasing parks, absolutely. And that's another thing I talk about is community benefits agreements, where when you have a development going in, we need to require those developers to add trees, to add public parks, to add accessibility for the community. Investing in our tree canopy, that's something that we have done. We've gone from planting, 50 trees a year to several hundred trees a year. And one of the ways that I think that we can focus on the investment that is required is by hiring a full-time grants writer. That's something that the city hasn't had. I know that each department does have their expertise in writing grants, and we have the coordinator, but there's so many grants out there that unless you're really experienced and looking to find them, you don't know how to find them. So I think that that's something important that can help us keep Jody Tendler in her position and keeping us moving forward is to find those grants to continue moving us towards the greenest city.
Yeah, I have a quick rebuttal. It just sparked some things in my head. Like I mentioned before, we were very active with the Mayor's Task Force and the Environment Task Force. And I felt, it's great that Norwalk's doing good things. I mean, we're getting electric cars for the engineers at City Hall. And, we're setting an example of efficiencies and with our buildings and new development. We got, they're efficient, they're getting awards, and that's great. We're setting an example. But I felt in my time back when I was on the task force and sharing whatever, getting the word to the public on what's available to them. Because there are a lot of state and federal funded initiatives, such as light bulb swaps. You're bringing your incandescent to get LEDs. We had hundreds of people show up. Solar panels and partnering with solar panel companies, and home efficiency programs where they come into your house, they seal up your windows, seal up your doors, and it's like $90 because it's pretty much funded by the grant, and I must stop. Thank you.
Okay, just one thing to say about what we're talking about here. So once again, words and actions and results. So we heard that developers are going to be required to have more parking. Mill Pond. They decided it was authorized for 1.3 parking spaces. Now we're giving away a city street with parking to supplement the lack of parking for the development. So once again, we have words, but the actions don't line up with these words. So now we're going to have Cemetery Street is going to have paid parking on our street. So we've given away public property to supplement the lack of parking in the development. So, if we're going to talk about it, we have to actually do what we say we're going to do.
Anybody else? Not in the audience.
Wait,
Yes.
Yeah, just in terms of that Mill Pond project, just to clarify, those additional parking spots have been put in to allow for the businesses that will open there, so that people can go to Sweet Ashley's or go into this, idea that there's a coffee shop and this new development. So that's why they're there. And also, I do want to, just in terms of, there's a lot of hate for that project, right? But it just to be, put the facts out there that there is now public access to Mill Pond as a part of this project that was not there before. So I just wanted to put, just in terms of getting the facts straight, I just wanted to put that out.
I got a rebuttal. Thank you. It's like part rebuttal, part agreement. I fully agree. We need a grant writer. We need that for a long time. Just because, let's say I'm good at, building code doesn't mean I'm good at writing grants. I need somebody specifically for that. The restaurant makes the same mistake. They hire a very good server, might be a good manager, not always the case. The cemetery project is one of the major motivating reasons why I'm here right now. There wasn't quasi-public access back in the day, and it was just a abandoned parking lot. That was my favorite touchy spot, to be honest. But I watched, as the development occurred, it totally killed Mill Pond. That used to be a bird estuary. We used to have migratory birds go through there all the time. I know this because I walk my dog there 2 or 3 times a day. I've been walking my dog around Cemetery Street the entirety of it. What sidewalks are available. I mean, we're going to grow. That's the reality of the deal. It's really how we grow. Is what we're here to determine. And you guys are here to determine who determines that. So, I'm tired of lip service with developers because they're going to do real green, back it up. I want to see it on paper, and I want to see it on the street. Not just something that's going to get cut on some random Tuesday in some meeting that nobody's paying attention to. I want to see real deal ecological deals. Thank you.
your second chance. This question is from Wall Street neighborhood. As mayor, how will you address key Wall Street neighborhood priorities, including the growth of the arts community, revitalizing Freeze Park, advancing the proposed library expansion, and tackling garbage collection in quasi-urban areas with limited space? Vinny, you're first this time.
First? Yep. Great question. So there's a lot of questions in that one question. I'm going to work backwards. From garbage. So we're going to go back and forth about garbage and the extra cans and $300 and the whole thing. But I believe that businesses should pay for their own garbage. That's something that has come through that I actually agree with. I have a business. You should have your own garbage pickup if you're running a business, if you're having a business down there. But I believe that the Arts and Cultural Center of Norwalk should be on Wall Street. That's an excellent use for that, and we need to really make sure that happens and we need to foster anything that's growing there. But we need to look at the bigger picture as well, is that I would like to see tourism increase in Norwalk. I would like to rehabilitate and have a summer 2.0 is what I keep talking about, as far as bringing tourism back and incorporating with the maritime program. We have so many wonderful parts of Norwalk that are underutilized, and we should be able to link them together and make this a place, a vacation destination for families to come here, weekends, whatever we have. We have hotels going up, we have a new hotel going up. We need to make sure that we foster and grow our tourism aspect of it. So I believe supporting what's happening in Wall Street is incredibly important. It's a key part in making our city grow to the city that we want it to be and have it be a vacation destination or a destination in general. And I would love to see Wall Street come back and be the center focus point of Norwalk once again, the way it was many years. So I fully support anything that's going to make this improvement happen. Freeze Park, I think I would like to see a lot of public input from the surrounding, all four of these neighborhood associations, to see what they would like to see in Freeze Park. It's a clean slate right now, so it's a wonderful opportunity to put something new, innovative, and something that I think I would like to get the opinion of the young people in our community as to what they would like to see there. So I'd like to get a lot of different opinions, get a lot of input to see what we can do. And it's a clean slate, it's a wonderful opportunity for us to do that. Thank you.
All right, Wall Street. I've been in the Pope of Wall Street. It's given to me for a reason. Because I spent 11 years here on Wall Street, either working or living or a combination of the two, sometimes a couple of jobs. I believe the growth of Norwalk is entirely dependent and intertwined with the growth of Wall Street. It will be the tourist backup. We have hotels going up. I talked to Jason. We talked to other people, business owners that I know for years, some of whom I work for. And as we resuscitate Wall Street's going to keep us alive, keep us selling. The conservatory is an excellent move. They are growing. Thea has a hair academy at ACL Wall Street, and my group over here. So the reality is, like I said, the growth of Norwalk is entirely dependent on the growth of Wall Street, and I will obviously do whatever I can to make that happen. Thank you. Oh wait, I got you. How much? I got 3 seconds. Garbage collection, I can't really speak on. In terms of the arts, obviously the conservatory is going to build it. Shout out to District Music Hall for actually doing some awesome shows. And the library is absolutely essential. It's the only third place that we get to go where we don't have to spend money. And also it's a cultural milestone for everybody. But with things we can have a carpet on, I'm going to talk about that later. But if that's the case, then we'll actually need to, whatever we can do to kind of grow and expand that, because it is an essential element for a civil society, which we actually are. Thank you.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. As mayor, how will you address key Wall Street neighborhood priorities, including support of the arts community, revitalizing Freeze Park, advancing the library expansion, and tackling garbage collection?
Yeah, so I think the revitalization of Wall Street is it is probably the most exciting thing going on here in Norwalk, right? We waited a long time for this. So I've been a huge supporter of the arts, the music scene, the arts and cultural scene in Norwalk here at Wall Street. But it extends beyond. I just want to make sure the Arts and Cultural District, it does extend beyond Wall Street. So that's something I'm really proud of, is how we've supported the Arts and Cultural District. And, you know, Freeze Park, I think that, you know, the music that we do in the summertime there is a really fabulous thing that draws people in and creates community. And I think that's really what it's about, what we're really seeing in Wall Street, is like that community really feeling supported and coming back after many, many years. As to the library expansion, I think what we really need is a capital campaign and to fundraise to support a new library, because we've got to do it. And so I'm really committed to doing that, looking at, you know, how we can work with the board to initiate a capital campaign. And what else? There was another question that I wanted to make sure that I addressed. But, you know, really, so again, back to supporting the small businesses. You know, I was just at the drag queen brunch at 429 this morning, which was just a really fantastic thing, working together with Blanca next door at Kohl's, and that is another thing that creates a lot of fun and energy. You know, there's so many questions. I want to make sure I get everything. Capital campaign. And just the historic aspect of it. You know, combining that, you know, arts, culture, parks, with the history of NoNo and celebrating that.
No, I'm going to try to get the roots of this up real fast. Okay, so first the library. I mean, libraries these days is not just about the books anymore. My kids go to the libraries all the time. It's cultural. It's learning experiences. There's it's not what how we all to anyone my age or older. It's not what we think of a library. So I'm all for supporting the library. Wall Street, we could have done a lot more. I think the last contribution the city did for Wall Street was reversing angled parking spaces, which obviously got rolled back. It just makes no sense. It didn't make sense to me then. It makes sense to me now. First thing when I say Wall Street, it's collaborating with personally owned 90+% of the entire area. Jason Miller, I mean, unusual situation the city's in. He's doing great things down there. It's kind of just flourished on its own. I give him all the credit. From my perspective, having one person be the go-to person to deal with, you know, with owning all these properties, and he's involved with pretty much running the Wall Street Association shows, so he has the ear and the voice of everyone. So I think that's a benefit to us. And just like a 1 minute left, garbage. If elected, I will roll back the garbage, or at least hold public hearings. I think people should have been given the option to weigh their options, because, you know, when you go private, obviously you have the cost, and then you have the logistics around you know, the company, paying, and scheduling, and so forth. I think people should have been given the opportunity to know what the cost differences were. So 30 seconds left. And as far as the extra garbage cans are concerned, I think there should be conditions put in place. If you're a family of 3 or more, that person should get a free garbage can. That's something, if we had an IT department, and I disagree with my opponent here, everyone that works at City Hall told me the opposite. Bring 19 people to set up something on the website, proving you have 3 people or more in your family, and you get a free garbage can. Thank you.
Any rebuttal? Okay. Moving on. This question from the City Hall neighborhood. Metro North runs through downtown. In less than a mile, a train crosses 4 roads, sounding horns 3 times at each crossing. That's 12 times, 27 trains a day, for a total of 324 train horn blasts. Can Norwalk work to create a quiet zone to reduce the noise strain on area residents on both sides of the Norwalk River?
So I'm from New York originally. I used to live by the I'm not particularly perturbed personally about train noises, but I know many people are, and I feel like that question comes from sustainable streets people, because I've been asked the exact same question before. And I know for a fact that they actually have a plan to make it happen. As I understand from Rex, it is not extremely expensive. There are things you can get from MTA to put it up, so you don't have to deal with screeching, whatever they're called, horns. I used to live at the Corsi factory, we used to have trains there all the time on the back, so I definitely understand the disturbances on that. So I do believe there's a solution for it, and it's actually not a particularly it's a pretty cost-effective one. And obviously it's happened in sustainable streets since they already have perspectives and are throwing these meatball questions out to us. But we are beneficial that we actually have, I believe, four train stations in our town. There's a possibility for a fifth on Wall Street. That would be a high-minded and out there thing. That's entirely dependent on how much we go to Wall Street. But yeah, I'm down for getting rid of the horns. They don't really serve purpose if we have other needs. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I do generally support quiet zone with the train horns, but I would really want some kind of 100% guarantee from Metro North that they have the technology to assure safe crossings. I think that's a little bit of a stickler there for me, because you know, when I was growing up in my hometown, I grew up in a little mining town, and we had trains that ran right through town. And we had safety crossings, but you know, a family got stuck on a train or stuck on the tracks, and the family was killed. So that's the kind of thing that like doesn't leave a person, right? You know, so while I absolutely support the quiet zone, how can they assure that those train crossings are going to function 100% of the time? I would want some kind of assurance. That's my thing.
Brings back a thought about 10 years ago, the one over by the old CBS on Route 7, going towards Silver Mine. Train barely missed by 1 foot. Wasn't the arms weren't down, there were no lights, and that's every time I hear about trains and noise, that's my first thought. I mean, this is an issue. I live somewhat close to the train station. You can hear them rolling along at night. It's you know, when it's cold out, it always travels obviously further. So it is an issue. So as mayor, I plan to go as far as filing suit, working with Metro North, working with the state, see if there's any state or federal funding to address the issue. I would like to learn more about it. I mean, honestly, I'd like to hear from people that live close by and see what can be done and address it as best I can. Thank you.
I'm torn on this one. So I live in the West Rocks area on the hill near West Rocks School. And the Danbury line is used to horn at about 7 minutes after 6 every single morning. If I ever sleep late, it's perfect, wakes me up. I can hear it all the way up there. So I do really recognize that it is an issue, but this is a larger issue in the city of Norwalk. We really have to, you know, if it really is an issue that's concerning our residents here, we should work closely with Metro North and see what we can do to solve the problem. However, safety is always paramount. We have to make sure that everyone's safe. And we had a training car on Commerce Street a couple of years ago. So I don't think any of us on this panel have a real good answer for that. Could be, you know, increase the lighting accessibility, maybe light beams down the track perhaps. But we have to have some type of notice that there's a train going across the tracks. I think Commerce Street, I don't even has an arm that comes down. But we can certainly, you know, increase the way to block the road so you don't accidentally get hit by a train. You know, it's a difficult one, but if it really means an awful lot of people in the community, then we have to work together and solve it. I believe any problem can be solved if you put your heads together and really see it through to the end. And I think we could be able to do that.
Any follow-up?
Just to answer your question, I'm pretty certain that the Connecticut Department of Transportation actually has this program set up. Again, I'm basing off the conversation I have with sustainable streets people in regards to this. They have all the information, and it's a doable thing. The reality is that as mayor, we can only kind of suggest that we got to be dependent upon Hartford to bring it, you know, to us. So we'll really be working in conjunction with our delegates and with, you know, Connecticut Department of Transportation on a higher level. But again, I'm for it. It would be a useful thing for the quality of life of people out here.
Anybody else? Okay. Moving on, this question from the Norwalk Green neighborhood. The recent proposal for the O&G site on Smith Street was rejected, but the site's future remains undecided. Residents worry about environmental impact and truck traffic, while others see it as a chance for tax revenue and redevelopment. What is your opinion on the future of O&G's site?
Yeah, well, I was very much against that application, and I continue to be against anything having to do with them re-upping that plant and you know, making an asphalt plant again. And I think there's no mistake they're coming back. You know, it was already mentioned tonight. There's no mistake they're coming back. And so I think what we have to do is really explore what our rights are. They maintain that they can operate. The city maintains that they don't have the right to turn it into an asphalt plant again because they were decommissioned for so long. So there's a difference of opinion. So we need to know legally where we stand, and we don't have that answer yet. You know, I think back to when they were making their application, and the Harbor Management Commission approved their application. So I have some real questions there around why the Harbor Management Commission, who is working to protect our waterways and keep our water safe, keep our harbor safe, why they approved it in the first place. So I wonder about maybe do we need to shake up there. And also another thing that I would like to explore, and I don't know what our options might be because of the expense, but I'd like to at least explore taking that property by eminent domain. Because from what I understand, they don't want to sell. They don't want to sell, and they want to come back. And so that's something that, I'm not saying we can do it. I'm not saying we can do it. I want to be really clear about that, but it's something I'd like to explore.
I'm the first one to say when I don't know something. I apologize. I didn't say anything. Yeah, I'm the first one to say if I don't know the details of something and speak out of line. I know the property, I know what their use was. I don't know if there's zoning compliant now. I don't know if the new zoning in that area has changed and now they're no longer compliant and the use needs to, are they grandfathered? So I can't speak to that. I know waterfront property, by the way, is valuable. I know that I don't want more apartments in Norwalk, so I can see there being a better use than an asphalt plant in O&G. So if elected, I'm going to look into the details, look into the legalities, and take action based on what the public at large and majority want. Thank you.
There's many moving parts to the story. So first I have to speak to the hodgepodge planning that we've experienced here in Norwalk. We have luxury condominiums on one side of it, you have high-end apartments on the other side of it. If the plan is to have along our waterfront apartments or condominiums, then we should continue on in that fashion. And I believe that that's the best possible usage for that property because it complements the neighborhood, it complements all four of these neighborhood associations. To have an industrial zone right there, industrial complex right there, is counter to what we're trying to build here in Norwalk, what I want to build. As far as eminent domain, I would say this. I've been the victim of eminent domain. My first business of 17 years is where they built the mall, and they took the property and the business to eminent domain. So I know that that's not a term that should be taken lightly to take someone's livelihood or someone's business for certain. But to this point, I don't believe that's a good location for it, but that also flows into the next issue. We're talking about getting rid of our industrial zones, our industrial areas, places where people can operate these type of businesses out of the Norwalk. Every city needs an industrial area, an industrial zone. So, they should all be one place nearby, like off Martin Luther King Drive, perhaps, where some of them are now. And another thing that I'm hearing is that there's industrial businesses in this little enclave down there that are putting, the debris into the river. This all needs to be uniform. We need to have a plan that's going to be uniform and we're able to move through and do what we'd like to do. If anyone here remembers, they used to have a plan for a boardwalk from Vets Park all the way down to Wall Street. And as far as I know, the only people that actually put in the boardwalk is St. Anne Club. So there has been a plan that has not been adhered to, but I believe that this part, the river, should be for residential. It's already started that way. We've already had condominiums and apartments. Let's continue on and keep going that path. I do not believe that that's the proper place for an industrial entity.
I'm going to take up a lot of people at this table. Like I said, I got involved with a lot of people. I met Brad and I met Anthony by way of the ONG advocacy we were doing. Everybody knows they wanted to actually set up, how many was it, like 10 barges, like a week? I don't know. They were going to drastically increase the amount of barge and particulate, basically, when we got to Vine across the way. So we do have an industrial aspect over on Commerce Street. As I understand, ONG was, that whole lot back in the 70s was set up by special permit and a handshake. If we could find the paperwork to kind of indicate when this started and how it started. And I'm of open mind to eminent domain. I don't believe it serves a function right now. It's definitely inhibiting the growth of the Norwalk River Valley Trail, which is where your boardwalk's at. That's what we're supposed to connect. So yeah. I would motivate to actually take that property by eminent domain if they don't want to sell. The tax incentive is pretty low. We could definitely generate it by again, some manner of inland wetland park, having kind of like conjoined with the various rowing clubs that use water. I'm a member of the Norwalk Boat Club right down the street. They use that as an outlet. And I don't know if you guys remember about a week and a half ago when the Lions Bar was loose, they were basically blocked from using it during the last element of like the season. And if we had an additional one, I mean, you couldn't even get like a paper boat, that kind of thing. So I definitely do not support any kind of development further than ONG. I believe it should be decommissioned fully and made to some manner of park that's accessible for all the people. I mean, it is a river trail. If we're going to connect it, we're already connected Wilton to Norwalk. That is the missing link. And as they exist, it will remain missing. And again, they were pretty agreeable with the neighborhood, so I'm not really agreeable with them at this stage. Yeah. Thank you.
Any follow-up?
Just a little levity, food for thought here, some things that maybe go, we're spending over $1 billion to have a movable bridge to make barges in around the harbor. Just throwing that out there. You know, I don't think that's any sense to anyone else. So we don't want barges in the harbor. I don't want barges in the harbor. But I'm just saying, we're doing all this to accommodate barges. And now, at this point, we're having a conversation about barges in the harbor. Just something to think about as far as planning, long-term planning, lack of long-term planning that always seems to plague many things that we do.
I'd like to speak. I mean, over the years in my time on council, a lot of projects came before us and before the Planning and Zoning Commission. And projects that we knew that weren't good for Norwalk, but yet it complied with zoning. And there was always a fear of not fighting because of legalities surrounding it. And I always felt we were too weak on that stance. Yeah, I mean, I can get into the Norwalk Corporation Council and that, but I'm not. But I will say, we're quick to give up. We're quick not to fight these fights with fear of facing the repercussions or the time or the effort. And like I said, I don't know if ONG, 30 seconds, complies and with their legal rights to continue on as an asphalt plant. I plan to learn that very soon, but in general, I've seen a lot of projects before that shouldn't be there right now, and because no one didn't want to take on the fight. That's something I plan to change. Thank you. Barbara.
Yeah, just add a couple of things. You know, these were, the Walk Bridge decisions were done long before I was on the council. I believe even John was on the council. And so I think, you know, fighting more for Norwalk is something that we absolutely have to do moving forward. But, you know, some of the things that I'm thinking about, we may touch upon this in another question if there's something about the East Avenue study, but, you know, I'm thinking of the Harbor Loop Trail. I do want to point out that the state of Connecticut is paying to do a portion of that Harbor Loop Trail underneath the highway as a concession around the Walk Bridge project. But I also think that if we boost the Harbor Loop Trail up here closer to Wall Street and sort of close in on the ONG site, with you know, more walkable space, more, you know, a more extensive harbor loop trail where the only part of it comes around ONG, you know, that's going to make it harder for them and harder for the Harbor Commission to approve any further plans. And also, you know, more water activities, more rowing clubs, more things that it would make it harder for ONG to come out.
Great, thanks. And based on the time, this will be our last question. The specific question came from the Wall Street neighborhood, more or less, but it reflects what came from all of the neighborhoods, so it's probably a good question to wrap on. There's a perceived lack of transparency and community inclusion in a lot of the decisions that are being made in terms of development and other things that you've talked about tonight. Will you commit to enhancing transparency and community inclusion, and specifically how will you do that? And this would go to Mr. Kaides first.
Thank you. It's so frustrating when you have big items on the agenda, I'm speaking my time on council. The budget, for instance, decides everyone's mill rates, it decides, you know, your quality of life, and there would be no one in the audience, or maybe two. The Dianes would be Diane or Rachel, there you go. It is sad. It's sad that people aren't engaged. I understand people are busy, people have lives. It's nice to see so many people here today, but I found in my time on the council, first of all, I think I didn't tell everyone I knew what the council actually was, and, you know, I was said, you know, why don't you know this? And they would say, well, I'm just, you know, want my road nicely paved from here to work, you know, my tax is low, and I don't care about any of that other stuff. And then you have that group that wants to be involved, wants to communicate, and if they know, they spread the word and more people know. I think the city has done and continues to do the best they can as far as communicating. We're in an information age. We have access to many different outlets for information, which is great. But I think we could do more. I think that what that can be, I mean, there was Mayor's Night Out. I mean, that happened for a few months, and then it just dwindled, and then 3 months later, no one was there. So we've racked our brains on how we can better improve communication between the city and the residents. And it's not a fight. I don't think anyone's going to give up here. But I think we need to maybe think outside the box on how we're going to be able to do that. Especially items. I'm just going to tell you 30 seconds. Press, for the most part, is non-existent in Norwalk. I mean, when I was on the council, there'd be press fighting over it. Now I understand the cutbacks, I understand why press is as involved. Money, publication, funding, I get it. Thank you, Nancy and all, for being here. But at the end of the day, we're not getting the press coverage we need. So these things are happening before you even know that they are. Thank you.
Transparency is one of the foundations of my campaign, the lack of transparency. And what's come from the lack of transparency is in a lot of cases, a complete broken trust between the residents of this community and City Hall on so many levels. If anybody's attended the last several board meetings, you see that that's quite evident. And once you've broken trust, it's very difficult to get that back. But that is my pledge as mayor. I'm going to bring that back. And I'm going to start from square one. Whereas any plans, programs, anything that's coming down the road will be available for view before we start the planning process, so people know what's coming at them. My administration will strengthen the neighborhood associations as an important key element to making sure that there's information is around, is for everyone to see and view. We'll use, for an example, a template of failure is Lockwood Lane and the sidewalks. Now, I'm not saying I'm for or against the sidewalks, but the way that this plan has gone through has left the residents outraged. It's left them lost. It's left them fighting. And I will say that it's very difficult to fight City Hall, but it's about time we understand that we need to change City Hall. So when that first podium got put up at the top of that street, we were talking about fixing the drainage, the complete plan should have been available to everyone who lived in that street, that they were going to get sidewalks and this is what was going to happen. And it did not happen. It leaves these residents fighting for what they want their street to look like, what they want their neighborhood to look like. It's backwards. It should be the other way around. The people, the residents should be telling us what they want to see in their neighborhood, what they want to see in their community. We've gone off the rails with these committees and deciding what your neighborhood should look like. We need to get back to the way it used to be. And we can do that, and I'm going to do that, because I'm going to make sure that every piece of information possible is available in an easy to read, easy to see manner, so that you know what's happening before the city spends $1. Easy to read, easy to see manner, so that you know what's happening before the city spends $1